Hello, everyone. We bless God for this opportunity that we have to be here tonight. It is a very, very special night, and I'm looking forward to God encouraging and strengthening each of us. I have the privilege tonight to sit down with very quality people, men and women who have and are still affecting their generation. The Top Achievers Network is a network that brings successful people from different parts of the world together. And by the grace of God, this evening, we are celebrating an icon, a father, someone that has impacted and is still impacting so many lives. I am glad that he could make it to this meeting. He will be 80 years old tomorrow. And we just thank God for his life. We thank God for the impact that God is making through him. So it is my privilege to introduce to you those who will be doing this assignment with me. By the grace of God, I have with me here tonight the president of Journalists for Christ Fellowship, a seasonal journalist, a man who had been in the field for a long time. And he is also helping so many young, journalists to come to find their purpose in God and do better. I'm talking of no other person than my brother, my friend, my boss, Mr. Lekan Otufodurin. He is with us tonight, and we thank God for him. I also have Mrs. Yinka Oloyede. She's a pastor by calling, but she is a publisher as well. She's based in Germany, and God is doing great exploits through her. She's going to be one of the panelists that will, share with us and help us ask questions from our daddy, the professor. And of course, I'm going to hand over to Mr. Lekan Otufodurin right now to, go ahead and tell us more about our guests tonight. Over to you, sir.
Okay. Good evening. I hope you can hear me very well.
Yes, we can, sir.
Can you hear me? Okay, so I'm reading the profile of Professor Idowu Sobowale. It is my privilege to do this as a former student of Prof, and I really thank the Achievers Network for making this, Top Achievers Network for making this possible. So I hereby read the profile. From Monday, March 29 to April 2nd, 2021, that's this year, communication scholars and professionals in Nigeria and across the world, we gather for an international conference with the theme Media, Public Opinion and Governance in Africa at the Lagos State University School of Communications. The conference, which is the 5th, is named after one of the most distinguished communication scholars, professionals, journalists, and astute administrators in Nigeria. Nigeria has produced Professor Idowu Sobowale, who clocks 80 tomorrow, as we have been told. He is one of the very few among his contemporaries so honored with such an intellectual gathering, which is a recognition of his immense contribution to development of communication studies and practice in Nigeria and globally. Born 4th January 1941 in Ashikpa near Abeokuta, Ogun State, he attended the Lagos Baptist Academy for his secondary education, graduated in 1964. That was the year I was born. After his secondary education, he secured a job with the Lagos City Council as a health inspector. He was to last on the job for only 6 days as a chance meeting with late Chief B.C. Onabanjo, an old student of the Baptist Academy, facilitated an introduction to late Alhaji Babatunde Joseph, who employed him at Daily Times. He was one of the pioneer students of the Daily Times training school who were expected to complete 12 months training before being deployed to the newsroom. He was so outstanding in class that after spending only 2 months, the director of the school recommended that he be deployed immediately. He later attended the University of Lagos to join Institute of Circulation in or scientific journalism, as it was then called.
Wow. That should be network issue. Man. That's network. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Is Lekan still on?
No.
That's network. Wow. I think. Okay.
He's back.
Sorry, the network is gone. Hello?
Yes, the network fluctuates. Yes, we can hear you now, sir.
I am on. I hope I can still be heard.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Am I still on?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
In recognition, okay. So let me just go on. In recognition of his phenomenal contribution, Professor Sobowale to scholarship and media profession, Caleb University Imota, Lagos named his Faculty of Communication and Media Studies in his honor. The retired but not retired scholar has served on the faculty of many universities, including Covenant University, Pan-Atlantic University, and McPherson University, Abeokuta, among others. His pioneering activities, among others, made the government of Chief Olusegun Obasanjo to award him a national honor of Officer of the Order of Nigeria, OON, for his lifelong devotion to media development, for his commitment to producing hundreds of scholars who are today holding responsible positions in the various communication industry. Professor Sobowale was honored with a Dame Lifetime Achievement Award at the 23rd Dame. And here is the conclusion. In the words of Jules Renard, it is not how old you are, it is how you are old. Ralph Waldo Emerson also says it is not the length of life, but the depth of life. Professor Sobowale's accomplishment is a testimony to the fact that he is not just another old man. He has aged gracefully and impacted the lives of many, including many of his former students who have risen up to be accomplished as him. His life has the depth that anyone will crave for, more of which will be contained in his autobiography, Unexpected Turns, Farming, Journalism, Academia, and Politics, which will be launched at the 5th Idowu Sobowale Conference. Happy birthday to a distinguished leader we are honored to host on Top Achievers platform. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir, for that brief, biography of our daddy. I would like to call on Master Yinka Oloyede to fire the first shot as we hear from the celebrant today.
Amen. Good evening, everyone. And we really thank God for having such an icon in our midst, Professor Sobowale. Happy birthday to you, sir. And thank you for being on this program. One thing I really appreciate God for your life, because it seems even at 80, you are still firing, you're still going on. And we do really appreciate people like you, you know, in our midst, especially in our society today. And you have given journalism a name, a new face. You know, I was reading your profile. One thing I observed is that it's like, and this is my question, like, was journalism in you? Was it you knew when you were young, this is your destiny, this is who you're going to be? Or you were, because it seems like you were so good, because there's a place I was reading that you did so well, they just had to deploy you. So it seems that throughout your journey, anywhere you go, it seems it's like your hands just touch something, it turns to gold. And I see so much development you have done in this university, pioneering so many things in this field. Was this something that you knew right from your youth, this is who you're going to be? Or just as you were going, people saw the goodness in you, saw the good in you, and kept on pushing you forward, and you kept on developing yourself and impacting people's lives?
Well, thank you very much. First, let me thank all of you for doing me this honor of organizing this interview on the occasion of my 80th birthday. To answer your question, I was born a farmer, and I was in the village until I was 13. And as a farm boy, I was doing very well, and I became the darling of my father because of my obedience, because of my hard work, even at that age. My father had 11 children. 7 of us are men, and I'm the 9th of the 11 children. But of all the 7 boys, I was the one who stayed longer with my father, and without being unnecessarily proud about that, I think I worked hardest for him. So we were just in the farm one evening when he was going to his cocoa plantation at Akorogbo, when he said he would want me to clear the yam field at Ashipa. And I just told him that no, I was not going to do that, because I was going to Abeokuta to learn to become a mechanic. He was stunned, and he was glued to the ground, because he never ever expected me to ever have a dissension about anything he wanted me to do. And so there and then, he said we should go back to the village. When we got back to the village, he narrated the situation to my mother, who said I should renounce what I said and said that I did not say so. And with even bolder effrontery, I told my mother that I said so. Then when the other families got back from their farms and from the stream where they went to fetch water, the matter was tabled again. And I was also asked to say that I did not say so. And I said so. And that if anybody tried to put pressure on me to renounce what I said, I was going to run away from the village. I think that scared them, and they said, no, I should not run away. At that time, the Ileya festival, that's the bigger of the Muslim festivals, the Idowu Kabir, was a few weeks ahead. And they said, okay, when we go to Abeokuta for the festivities, several other members of the family from the north, east, and Lagos will also assemble, that a final decision will be taken. So when we got to Abeokuta, a day after the festival, a meeting was convened, and we went through the same process of asking me to renounce what I said and insisting that the alternative would be for me to run away. And so my brother, who just left Abeokuta Grammar School a year before that date, he was working at the railway compound, Epitemata. We had a meeting, and they said I should excuse them. When they called me back, they said, okay, since I wanted to go and learn to become a mechanic, they had thought that it would be better for me to go to school for 1 year, and so that I could become numerate. If my master asked me to bring a screwdriver, I would not go to bring a spanner. So, I mean, that way I knew that I had achieved that objective of leaving the village, going to learn to become a mechanic, at least after a year. So we went to Lagos, and because I was 13 at that time, no school wanted to admit me into standard 1 then. We went around several schools, although there were not too many at that time. But all the schools at Epitemata we went around, nobody wanted to take me. But one teacher told my brother that a teacher in charge of standard 2 was going to conduct an entrance exam for pupils wanting to cross from other schools and other places. So the following day, and he introduced my brother to that teacher. And when they talked, my brother told him that I had been going to school at our village, but I had moved to Lagos and he wanted me to continue. So he said he was going to conduct an entrance exam the following day. And my brother took me there. My sister and brothers, this evening, when I entered the classroom where the exam was to be conducted, the first thing that nearly snuffed life out of me was the sight of the blackboard on which the exam questions were written. Because I had never seen a blackboard in my life. I had never seen a classroom situation in my life. So they gave us papers and pencil. My first difficulty was holding the pencil. Somebody had to come to teach me how to hold the pencil. And the paper, I was just drawing all manners of lines on it. In the evening when my brother returned from work, we went to the teacher's house. And the moment he saw us, he just told my brother, please don't bring this boy anywhere near my class. He's not a classroom material. Then my brother told him a lie, that I had been going to school, but I was afraid, being the first time I would mingle with people in the city, that was factual. So then admitted me. I'm coming to your question, but it
Yes,
has a
yes, sir.
background, which
It's good,
which
sir.
is
It's
what
good,
I'm
sir.
doing now.
We are with you, sir. Yes, sir.
So when we resumed, or I resumed with them, a few days later, the following day, my brother went to procure my school uniform and all the rest. Then the fellows seated me near one tiny, very small boy, but he was a genius from heaven. There was no question for the 1 year that I spent in that school that was given to us in class that he did not finish way ahead of the class. And then he would take my own paper and still finish within the time allowed for the um, work. And whatever mark he obtained was the same thing that I obtained. Then the teacher noticed that this boy who could not even write anything, how could he be competing with the brightest boy in the class? So he removed me and paired me with a lady who was not anywhere near as good as the boy. Olanrewaju Samuel was his name. But he was probably about halfway as good. But she was in no way able to help me to write my paper. But because I was desirous of learning, I was spying her, and when she got, I was getting about 1/4, sometimes 2. On 1 or 2 occasions, I got 3/4 on my own. Then, because the teacher was not convinced that it was my effort, he paired me with somebody else who was far, far, far older than myself, but was 10 times worse than me in terms of knowing what education was about. So rather than copying him or getting him to help me, he was the one who was copying me. And he was a bully to the bargain. So then after the first term, when we had the first terminal exam, the practice then was that the whole school will assemble on the day they will be going on vacation, and they will be calling prices. Calling scores, and the first 3, first, second, third, would get prizes from the school. When it came to my turn, they called Olanrewaju Samuel first. That's what it was, a lady. Secret, we have forgotten her maiden name now. Second, and third was me.
Wow.
When my name was called, my school was at Oyigbo, the St. Peter's UNA school, near the church there. It was the school being run by that church. When my name was mentioned, 2 steps from that hall, I landed in the middle of Abat Macaulay Street. I knew this because a car had to screech to a stop in order not to crush me. And another 2, 3 steps, I was right in the middle of Oyigbo Market. And I don't know, right from that time up to now, I still cannot explain how I got back to the house at Abat Macaulay. So now I think what spurred this one, the interest and the performance, was the fact that my brother had warned me that if I failed the first term, I would not go to school again, because we were paying. He had just started work, and he told me he had no money to waste. So that spurred me to struggle to read anything at all. And at that time, vehicles were laced with inscriptions of all manners, either in Yoruba or in English. But I tried very hard to read anything I came across. And it was not long after, maybe the second term or something, when I began to read J.O. Fagua to the class. So that one set me on the track for educational pursuits. The second term exam, Olanrewaju Samuel was first. I was second. Sikrat was third. And the third term, we maintained our first term positions. And that was when I left that school for a sister school, also St. Peter's UNA School at Odiolowo in Mushi. But from that moment, anybody who will be second to me will be a distant second.
Wow.
Very distant second. But all of this did not set me thinking about what I wanted to become in life. So it was not until I got to Babs Academy and I had to make a choice from the four schools I applied to, and all of which gave me admission, that my brother decided I would go to Babs Academy because a cousin of mine who also was living with him was going to Babs Academy. So I think I was in year 3 when a senior in the school, Ajibade Thomas was his name, but he's now called Ajibade Fashina Thomas. He was reporting events for the school.
Okay.
And that fascinated me. So when I left, when he left, I just took over. I was writing on foolscap sheets. I was pasting all over notice boards in the school. And very soon I became perhaps more famous than Senior Ajibade Thomas. So when we left, that was when I went to, the following day, as we left school, I went to Lagos City, Lagos City Council to seek for an appointment as a health inspector. And we were given assistant health inspector, depending when our results would be out. Precisely a week after I started work at City Hall, I went to school before going to Lagos. So I don't know whether, I can't now remember whether to ask for my testimonial or something, but I went. Then I saw some boys, seniors, who were going to visit Chief Bisi Onabanjo. He had just been discharged from the treasonable felony case, which sent Chief Obafemi Awolowo, Dakonde, and some others to prison. So I followed them. And when we got there, after exchanging pleasantries and things, he turned to us and he was asking each person what he was doing or intended to do. I was the last person, and when it came to my turn, I told him I wanted to join him in the Daily Express because he was the chief editor-in-chief, and the managing director of the paper. He told me the paper was going to die, that I should not set my mind on going there at all. Then he said he knew his friend, Alhaji Babatunde Joseph, had just started a training school for journalists that I should go there. Then he gave me a note, and straight away, instead of going to City Council, I went to Daily Times, and I just met Alhaji Jose on the corridor. I gave him the paper, and when he looked at it, he said, "Oh, my good friend," he just placed the paper on the wall and minuted on it and gave it back to me to take it to 13 Cooper Road, where the school was taking place. That day was the very first day the school started. So when I got there, the instructor, Mr. L.W. Riley, looked at it and just got me in. I was the 10th person, and the school started with 10 of us. But after we were to spend 1 year, after the first month, it was the first month, Dr. Ayodele Kekereku, a dental surgeon, and myself were singled out of the 10 of us and returned to Kakawa to be apprenticed to older reporters. And that was the way I started. And in no time at all, Daily Times began to give me guidelines, because that wasn't something that was common at that time. If you were to be given a byline, then you really must have done a fantastic job. So in no time at all, my name became household name, and my interest in journalism developed and grew and on and on. And so at a point, I became the Daily Times correspondent at the airport. And apart from that, I have covered many important assignments. So up until that time, my mind really wasn't settled on any particular thing. But from the moment I began to earn bylines in the Daily Times, I think I settled for becoming a journalist.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yes.
That's taking us down memory lane to really
Yes.
give us the background of how you got this far. Yes, I want to welcome Pastor Sam O. Salau. He is a seasonal author, and he ministers so much among the youth and in campuses. I will want to invite you to ask the next question, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Your story has been very intriguing and interesting, sir. I'm sure it will make a very good Nollywood movie if we can package this together in a movie. It will really make sense a lot. I don't know if you have started working on that, but I don't know we can do something on that. If you're into journalism, I'm sure that more people would like to watch this as a movie and learn all they can from it, sir.
Thank you very much.
Hello.
My memoir will be launched tomorrow also. And then later
Great,
on
sir.
Tuesday at the conference that my friend and junior, Mr. Otufodurin-Executive, I mentioned at LASU. The book will also be presented there. I think much of this is contained in the book.
Good. That's very great, sir. Congratulations in advance for that, sir.
Thank you, sir.
And I was also wondering on a jocular note, if you rose to become a professor, the first person in class, your friend, who was doing your assignment for you, your test for you, I'm sure will also be a professor. That's just on a jocular note, sir.
Yes, I have no doubt about that. But the unfortunate thing is that since we parted from the UNA at the Epidemeta, I have never caught a glimpse of him. In fact, a time was when I were not caught an advert, but made use of my position to write something inviting him to get in touch with me if he was still alive. But up to now, I have not had anything from him. He's somebody that I owe everything, almost everything to.
Okay,
Destiny help
that's
you.
life. Like you elders always say, 20 children cannot play for 20 years.
Yes.
According to the words of the elders. Okay, my first question is this. While listening to your story, I saw a lot of determination. A lot of determination to really be what you desire to be. At first, your father was against it, you stood against your father. Your mother was against it, you stood against her. Your whole family was against it. I can't imagine calling a family meeting on a 13-year-old young man, but he still stood his feet, he stood his ground because of determination. What can you attribute this to? What was the motivating factor? What was pushing? What was pushing you to do this, sir?
Well, I think
Hello?
the only thing that I can attribute that particular episode of my life to is destiny, nothing more.
Yeah.
Mm,
Because
mm,
except that I
mm.
was motivated and pushed by God, naturally I am not somebody who will go against my father or say anything uh, contrary to what he wanted. Not only that, I stood my ground when the two of us were in the farm. I stood my ground when we got home and my mother became the third person. I stood my ground when the entire family in the village assembled, and I stood my.
Oh, wow. I think we just
I can't hear him again.
yes, I think we just lost Prof online.
Okay. Okay.
I'm sure he's going to get in again. But this has been very, 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 very interesting. When you see someone get to the kind of level he got to, one would have assumed that he came from a wealthy home. He had a very wonderful and rosy background. If not for him sharing
Yes.
this with us, maybe we wouldn't have known. What do you think about that, my people?
Wow. I mean, that was very interesting, especially when he said somebody was writing his test papers for him. And it's all about, just as the Prof said, it's all about destiny. You know, God will do anything to clear your path of destiny. God will do anything to bring someone in your lane for you to, be in your destiny. So this is just the awesomeness about God. And that is why we just to have faith in him, because he will always either put someone in our destiny. When he said he will never stand against his parents, but he did. But we can know that was not him, but the God in him that was pushing him into destiny. So destiny is all about a force, something within you that keeps on pushing you, fighting the good fight of faith. I must do this, I must get there. No stopping, nothing will make me to back down. It's all about destiny. And as we can see, you remember he said he wanted to go and study, he wanted to be a mechanic, but look at how he ended up. So I think this is just the power of being a child of God and God pushing you into your destiny. All of us have it. So nowhere along the lane did Prof even get into this mechanic thing. He didn't even do it. But everything he said, even that his friend who did something and he was writing, doing some write-ups for his friend in school, and they know Prof more than his friend. It's all about destiny. And I hope, I mean, we many of us on this platform, we minister to young people. And destiny, destiny is all about you doing that thing you have a passion for, walking into that open door, which is an opportunity for you, and it pushes you further into your destiny. That is what I've just learned from what Prof just he showed well that he explained. That was just so powerful. It was so powerful.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma. Before I call on my Oga, Mr. Lekan Otufodurin to talk, Pastor Salau, you interface so much with young people, with students, and with a lot of people that are struggling. What do you say about the word determination? Apart from destiny, what role does determination play when it comes to this thing, taking cue from Prof's story?
I think it has to do with it has a lot to do with one's destiny. It's not just destiny like that per se. The place of determination is very, very key. You can see from Prof's story that it was so determined that it will stand up to people that mattered in his life. His determination will even make him look up to his father and say no to his father because he knew what he wanted from life. One of the major challenges we have in life today are parents who are not growing their children to be able to make concrete decisions about their life. Parents who want to be the alpha and omega, who wants to be the deciding factor on every issue that has to be with their children. So the children are not growing up to be able to take decisions on their own. And that's a lot of challenge today. Most parents think that they are helping the children, they are safeguarding them from some other challenges of life. Meanwhile, what they are doing is destroying the ability to take decision and stand on that decision, which is what played out in Prof's story. If you look at it, he knew what he wanted from life. He wanted to go to school. Even at a time when everything did not support his decision, when he entered class for the first time in his life, according to him at age 14, and he saw blackboard for the first time, and it gave him pride. How would somebody be writing an exam in his first day in school? But he was still determined not to get frustrated, not to get disappointed with all of those things that were against him. Even when he needed to do something that the society will not admit to move him forward. I say society will not admit in a sense because that is what you will call cheating nowadays. That somebody will be writing your test for you, doing your assignment for you and marking it. That is something you will call cheating nowadays. But it was still bent on if it takes whatever thing it takes, if that is what it takes for him to achieve what he desires to achieve in life, he will still go through that route. And that's the place of determination. Determination will not back out with challenges, will not back out with frustration. He will keep at what he really wants to get until he gets it. When you say a man will turn back, most young men turn back at slight opposition, at slight resistance. They turn back and they try to chart another course for themselves. That is lack of determination in pursuing a future. Nowadays, it's not unlikely you see a young lady who has learned like 15, 20 different skills and is not determined to pursue any one of them. This young lady will know how to make bid making. He has learned that and she's good at it, but she's not ready to focus on that and develop it. Then she'll go to learn how to plait hair. She's good at it, she's not ready to develop that. Then she goes to learn sewing and she can call herself a fashion designer. She's good at it, she's not pursuing it. She has so many skills, but she's not determined to just stay with one, get stuck with one and push it. That's a major challenge among our youth today. Thank you, sir.
I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
I
Yeah,
can
we
hear
can
you,
hear
sir.
you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you ask a question?
Yes, I said, what's your take on this issue of destiny and determination, from what Prof have shared with us?
Well, again, thank you for this opportunity to speak on this. Well, I must confess that I have known Prof a long time by reputation and by being a former student, but I didn't know this part of his being a farmer at all. I've never heard about it. In fact, when I saw the cover of the autobiography saying "Twist and Turn: Farming journalism, academia, and politics. I was wondering what the farming was all about. But for what he has said, like Bishop David Oyedepo will always say, the secret of men are in their stories. And when you hear people's story, yes, the secret of men are in their stories. When you hear their stories, you understand where they are coming from. So I think the determination that got him this far is something that is commendable, that he must say. One other part of Prof that I know that you support what we are talking about determination was that he came to UNILAG for his diploma. The diploma that they do there was for people who are experienced. And normally people will come for that diploma and go back to where to work. But from that diploma, he stuck there, got his first degree, went abroad, became a professor. So it was not just about scaling primary school, it's about entering. If he was taking out 2 months into the time journalism school, that's winning streak
Prof is back.
Yes, you are welcome back, sir.
has always been there. Thank you, sir. So I'm talking about that determination has always been a part of him. He came to do a diploma. He never went back. He went back, but he remained and he became a professor. It's not very common you have a normal journalist come and become a professor, although that is happening now. But back in those days, if you have a school certificate, it was just enough to practice journalism. But for somebody like him, there was no stopping him. So I think his story is sheer determination, and for somebody who's able to overcome challenges which people think are stumbling block, that it turned into a stepping stone.
Okay, sir, please just go ahead with your first question for Prof. You are welcome back, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Welcome, sir. Well, the question I will ask Prof is that journalism, just a few days ago, a journalist was lamenting on Twitter that young people were asked to dress what they want to become. And he was so shocked that nobody dressed to want to become a journalist. What is your advice for parents about encouraging their children to become journalists, and why is journalism very, very important to our society? Why do we need journalists in our society?
Well, let me start with the end of your question. Why do we need journalists and journalism for our society? As I have always believed, and as I've always told my students, journalism in our lives is so important that without it, we really cannot exist. It is as important as that. If you regard this as reductionism, I probably might not argue with you that because I'm a journalist, therefore I see everything in terms of journalism and journalists. But it is not necessarily so. It's because as members of society, we need to know what is going on. One. Two, we need to know what others are thinking. Two, we need to be able to evaluate the system in which we are in order to enjoy a good life. And without the medium that brings information that enables us to do all these assessments and other things, we are nowhere. That is that. Then for parents, I think the mistake that most parents have made, not only the parents of people who had aspired to be journalists, in most other professions, is that they want their children to be who they expected them to be. What any reasonable parent should do is to encourage his or her child to pursue the goal that he or she has set for herself. Because you can say you want your child to become a doctor. You're not going to do the reading for him or her. If you want him or her to be an engineer, you are not going to do the reading for her. I mean, there have been people who have been so misdirected.
That's network. I hope we still have Prof.
What you wanted me to do, now I'm going to do what I choose to do. Some of those people have become musicians. They have been people who have been buying and selling, various other occupations that they have gone into. So I don't think parents should impose occupation or professions on their children or wards.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Pastor Onyika, can you
Yes,
take your second question? I will just take one question each before we round up.
okay, sir. Prof, it was nice meeting you and, this discussion. I still want us to address the youth, when it comes to journalism. Today, seems like everybody's picking up a phone, recording and making a report. But when we talk about professional journalism, sir, we would like you to give the young generation, how they should go about their journey when it comes to journalism or even mass communication, because I think they're somehow along the same line, but to do it professionally, So what advice, what lane should they take to become a professional in their field, to become an expert in that field? And it's not just about, oh, this is what I have a passion to do, pick up a phone or a camera and say you are reporting in news or a situation. So, how could you advise the youth of today who would like to go along this profession, sir?
Well, unfortunately, in the last several years, students have gradually been losing interest in journalism. When I was at the University of Lagos, a time was when we had not more than 4 people showing interest in pure journalism. Then when I went to LASU, there were occasions when we got only 1. At Covenant University, in fact, my last year there, we had only 1 person in the journalism program. And it wasn't my own experience alone. Many other of my colleagues have been reporting the same thing. Now, first about journalism. Anybody who takes interest in journalism and studies journalism is going to be a master of all aspects of communication.
Okay.
I studied journalism, but I have been able to teach in all other areas of mass communication or communication studies. 2, you will be skilled, better skilled in other areas. Then journalism, as I have always told people, is not a flamboyant profession, one that people can see your faces or you dress glamorously and you attract people. No. But if your determination is to serve the public, to serve your nation, then journalism is the profession for you. I'm distinguishing the profession of journalism from broadcast journalism, for instance, from public relations and advertising, for instance, from book publishing, which is why, following our advice, the NUC has now redefined the program communication studies.
Oh, I think that's
We have
network.
lost again.
It's like okay. I just believe I want to thank our audience. I want to thank everyone that is online. Thank you for being part of this event, this program. I'm sure we have something to learn from this icon. If you have any question, you are watching us on YouTube or you are watching us on Facebook, please just type in your question. We would like to take in your question when we have the opportunity to have Prof back with us. All right, I think we can discuss on what Prof was talking about. The last question Mr. Lekan asked him about journalism. The four of us on this panel, we are journalists. We are involved with publishing. We are involved with communication. So what do you say, Pastor Salau, to why people will not want to get to become a journalist today?
Okay, it's really interesting that in the days when Prof was practicing journalism, journalism was appreciated in Nigeria. The Nigeria of today, I can boldly say that journalists are not really who they should be. When you have a journalist that is being controlled by the government, journalists that only relate to the people, not the true situation of things, but censored information as determined by the government, it is not really fulfilling its purpose. Some young people will get discouraged studying journalism because of that primarily, because they are not free to air their view at the public space. The second challenge that we'll have about serious academic journalism today is that the internet, social media, has in a way made everyone a sort of journalist in its own capacity. The internet. Before now, journalists will go out of their way to source for news, go out of their way to look for informations, to broadcast to the people through the regular media, maybe through the television, through the radio system, But nowadays, everybody has become a news producer on its own, news broadcaster on its own. Something is happening around your environment. You take your phone, you snap, and write just 1-2 paragraphs, and it spreads. That alone can discourage some people going into full-fledged journalism. For example, some big shots who are making money from news today did not study journalism in school among the youths, among the new generations. You talk of people like Linda Ekeji, who has made billions, who has made much more than some journalism houses, some newspaper houses have made on our own with just a blog. These things will discourage so many people from going to school, spend 5 years or spend 4 years to study journalism. So you have people who are engineers, people who are doctors, who own blog sites, who call themselves bloggers. And primarily what they will call you is that they are journalists in their own rights. So these few things could discourage people from going to school to study journalism in the sense that we see it. Now, if you're a blogger, there's a limit to what NUJ can do to you. There's a limit to which they can caution you. So there are so many bloggers who are writing whatever they want to write, and the newspaper media cannot write what they are writing. Good example is the NSAS Wala, when the newspaper houses, the television houses, the radio houses were barred from carrying these things. And all of these journalists, street journalists, people who didn't go to school to study journalism, who just had funds, became stars overnight by relaying information that the people need, news that the people need, that the proper media houses could not relate because of the controlling forces over them. This is what journalism has become today. So if you are not yet seeing all these bloggers as journalists, we are not yet seeing journalism in the 21st century. Journalism in the 21st century will be more driven by what social media will promote than what newspaper houses will promote. They are young people who have thousands of contacts on their phone, that when they broadcast something in just one broadcast, it could reach, ripple effect could reach 100,000 people. That some radio houses will do today. So that's my take on journalism in the 21st century.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Lekan, sir, you are a senior editor, well experienced in the field of journalism. And to our audience out there, the reason why it's like we are talking more about journalism right now is because Professor Idowu Sobowale happened to be a professor in that field. Sir, I want you to respond to what Pastor Salau just said about journalism today, as in, what do we do about journalism? Talking about the social media, Twitter, and all these social handles that has made everybody a street journalist, like he called them.
Well, it is ironic that many people who go to mass communication studies, I hope I'm being heard.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, it's ironic that people who enroll to study mass com end up not being journalists. But it will interest you to know that there are a crowd of people, non-mass com graduates, who are so eager to become journalists. And if you take an inventory of people who are practicing journalism today, it will interest you to know that there are so many non-mass com professionals, including accountants. I can name names for you. It will shock you to know that many of them never studied journalism, but they have become journalists because they have a passion. It's one thing to go and read journalism, another thing to have the passion, to have the zeal, to have the flair. And we have so many accountants. I mean, for example, let me just mention a few names that will interest you. The head of BBC in West Africa, read biochemistry. A director at Punch, read accountancy. So it's interesting that people go to study mass comm yet they don't have the flair. So we need to understand that that is what is happening, and that is what we are trying to help them to understand. So if you must become a journalist, you must study, but you must also have the flair. You must understand it. But again, we need to also draw the distinction between who is a journalist and who is not. The man who is on social media, who is sharing information, the constitutions allow anybody to share information, but that does not make you a journalist. For some of the things that we think journalists are not doing, for some of the things that we are thinking journalists are not doing, there is a code of ethics. There are guidelines. There are things a medical doctor will not do that an herbalist will do.
Okay.
So if we begin to understand this separation, we understand that when we say journalists are afraid that they are being controlled, Prof is back. So when we say journalists are being controlled, we are saying that there are guidelines. But that is not to say that we are not seeing the trend that has changed. There are new trends, there are new realities. But that is not a call for people to misbehave.
Well, that's
Because sometimes some of this information that they share are things that cause some
Prof is breaking.
crisis.
I can't hear him.
yes. I think it's a network.
They don't subject about our country. To hello, sir. Prof, we can see you. I hope you can hear us.
Yes, Brother Lekan, have you landed? Your audio was breaking.
Yes, breaking. So yes, I have landed. I'm just saying that you need the flair,
Okay.
not only the certificate. You need the flair. You need the
Okay.
passion. You need to understand the
Okay.
ethics of the profession, and you need to be guided, which
Okay.
is very, very important. Not necessarily
But that does
control.
not stop
Control
the
is everywhere in
operation
the
of the
world.
bloggers, right? That
No,
does not stop people
like
from sharing information.
we are saying people can share, but they must share responsibly. They
Okay,
must be
sir.
aware there are news that are not meant for, there are fake news that don't need to be shared. You need to fact check what you are
Okay.
sharing. You need to be sure. The rule in journalism is that if you are in doubt, leave out. That's what we are taught. Leave out. You keep checking until you are sure.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. We have our father, our daddy, our prof back in the house. So we will just want you to quickly round up from where you stop, sir, because we still have 2 questions for you before you go.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, we had power failure here.
That is part of the question we want to ask you, sir.
Yes. So I think you should just go ahead now that we are back, so
Yes,
that
sir.
we don't waste further time in order not
Yes,
to
sir.
lose the power again. This
Okay,
is what we
sir.
have been going through for weeks.
Okay, sir. I will just use the opportunity to ask you the question, sir. That what will be the way forward for our nation? Because we can see like the power just went off again. Now, brethren, can you see this? This is the situation back at home. Yeah. What will be the way forward, sir?
Well, the way forward. Can I get the question, sir?
I'm talking about Nigeria. You just talked about the lights going off back and forth.
Okay. Well, the way forward is for all of us, both those in authority, those that are following, young, old, and middle-aged, for all of us to recommit and rededicate ourselves to the growth and development of this country. I think we have passed the point of blaming or assigning. What we should do is to admit that all of us have failed. And therefore, in order for us to enjoy a better life than we have right now, and a better future for our children, we must recommit ourselves to the progress of this country.
Thank you, sir.
If we are saying that those who are there are not good, how are we sure that those who will come in again will be better? Okay. But if all of us recommit ourselves and take a vow that whatever it is that we do, either in public, in private, in the corners of our homes, we would do it with the fear of God. That I think we would have begun to move in the direction of rectitude.
Thank you so much, sir. While we try to round up, I think the question I would want to ask you, sir, is for you to highlight, after this primary school, like you told us, the challenges you had and all those. Can you quickly just tell us the other areas of your academic life, the institutions you were able to work with, and some of the legacies that we are celebrating today, sir? And after that, I will just ask each of the panelists to ask one question, and then we round up, sir.
Well, thank you very much. For some, I think we have all summed up my life for me, that I was determined. Because when I went to Syracuse, I had I had a study leave with pay. I had 5 tickets, one for me, one for my wife, and 6 actually, for each of the 4 of my children. But I only took the ones for me and my wife. I left my children in the care of my brother, who died exactly a year after we traveled. And I had to come back. So I then went to University of Lagos, got the 4 tickets for the children, and I took them with me. Now, when I was to spend 2 years for my master's, but because of my experience at the University of Lagos, wherein I went for the diploma and I ended up doing the degree. So I had 2 certificates from UNILAG, the diploma as well as the degree, because I applied the same principle to my work at Syracuse. And instead of spending 2 years for the master's, I spent 1 year. So I applied the second year to my PhD program. And when I finished the the time for the master's elapsed, I had only 1 course more to do to complete my coursework for PhD. I applied for extension of my study leave with pay. It was denied. The federal government also gave me a scholarship. I also applied. Stopped. Then I said to myself, I had one option to return home. But I recognized that if I returned, I might not be able to finish my PhD. So I decided to stay back. And that was when the real challenge of life faced me. My children had to go and be picking cents that people threw away on the streets. When they had collected about 100 or so, $1 or something equivalent, then we will go to the grocery store, buy yeast, buy flour, sugar, and then we'll come home to come and make bread and bake bread, which we lived on. Then a friend of mine and a colleague at the University of Lagos, who also was at Syracuse at that time, would take me to the meat market at the end of the month, and he would buy $20 meat for me Of course, my family couldn't consume $20 worth of meat in 1 month there. So life became extremely difficult for me. If you read that memoir, you will see all of this there. But and I want to thank God for the kind of wife He gave me and the kind of children that He gave me. Up until I'm talking to you now, none of them ever complained about the hardship that we went through. So then when I got back, I also faced challenges at the Daily Times that I was working for, that one day I just decided to go back to Unilag to seek employment. And they said they could not give me, employ me, because my salary as the assistant editor of Daily Times certainly was higher than the salary of the vice chancellor of the university. And I told them that I wasn't looking for a better salary. Rather, I was looking for a better opportunity to affect the lives of far many more people than the narrow path of journalism. And of course, I was given employment right there and then because I had the best results in the class. So there had been other challenges, but through the grace of God, I have been able to surmount all of them. But many people who see me would think that it has been rosy all the way. No, that would be a misconception of my life. But one thing that I am grateful for, and I'll be grateful for until I breathe my last, is that God has not left me.
Amen. We thank God for your life, sir. I want to just, Pastor Yinka and Lekan, can we just have our last words, maybe last questions or comments as we try to round up, sir? Lekan, sir. The audio is breaking. The audio, we can't hear you, sir. Okay, maybe I have to come to Pastor Yinka.
Okay, like I mentioned.
Okay.
Okay, I'm back. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, so I want to thank Prof for sharing his story, and I think we have learned a lot. The last question I want to ask is to say, you are in politics. You worked in government. What does it take to work in government? Some people say until you enter there, you don't know what's happening. What does it take to be in government? As an appointee.
Thank you very much. I agree with those who say until you enter there, you don't know what is happening. That is a truism. What does it take? It takes the desire to serve. Anything other than the desire to serve is going to lead to a consequence that one perhaps does not expect. Because one, you will see so many things that you might not be able to sleep with. And once you are there, you just have to pretend as if you have not seen those things. There will be also other issues that people would expect you to say not, did not happen when you knew in your heart of hearts that those things rarely happen. I'll give you just one or two examples. There was a time that we took a decision to close admissions, and somebody who said he was the family head of the governor. The governor then was Ashwaju, went and collected over 1,000 names and brought it to me to admit them. And I told him that we had closed admission. Then I asked him a question. I said, would you want this, your cousin or relation, to fail? He said, no. Would you want him to become an object of ridicule in the eyes of the people? He said, no. I said, okay, there's no way I can take this list from you. The only other way is if all those who had come to me that I had turned back, I had a means of going to meet them to collect their own list and then treat along with yours, then I would do that. But I don't know where they were. I didn't know where they came from. Therefore, I could not, since I could not attend to them, I will not attend to this. And he went back to the governor. And the governor called me and said, this man is the head of our family. And I said, well, in good conscience, to his eternal glory. He said, if it is a matter of good conscience, then go and do what you are doing. Forget about the list. Then there was another instance when we wanted to move the engineering section of LASU to Epe, and I sent a note to the chief of staff, who took it to the governor, and the governor wrote approved on my proposal. So I then moved to implement the suggestion, and the people in Badagry division rose against me. There was nothing they did not say. They said the only thing that government ever had in their division, I was removing it to Badagry because I was not a Lagosian. And all attempts to explain to them that in the first instance, the policy of government was to decentralize university education by locating campuses in each, at least each of the divisions of Lagos. They did not believe that. So it got to a stage when I was advised to deny that action. And I said, well, the only thing I could do was to explain the action. That I had explained it, but I could redouble my efforts in explaining it. But to deny it, I will not deny anything that I said or did. And I was again allowed to defend myself by further explaining. I don't know whether the people of Badagry division have forgiven me, or they later saw the benefit in what we did, or we went ahead and did it.
Wow. Thank you, sir.
Wow.
Thank you. Can you have your last question, ma'am?
Yes, sir. You know, Prof. Sobowale, it's an honor to know you. I mean, to have someone like this in government, I mean, everybody, we're all shaking our heads. Well, could there still be true people in the government? Man, that is a great story. And you said two things. You said, if you are there to serve, and then you also talked about conscience, those two things. If you have a conscience and you are there to serve, you can really truly serve in that government, because you've given us examples, and there's nothing nobody can do. Man, I hope the young youth, the young people, I hope they are hearing us, because I've known many who want to go into politics, but they're so scared. They say politics corrupts people. But if you go in with a mindset to serve the people, you will surely serve. If you go in with a godly conscience, with a good conscience, you will show, and nobody can stand against you, just as they did with Prof. Oh man, this is just so awesome to know you, sir. Now, I think I'm just going to base my question also on politics. What advice? Because I really want us to talk about this area. This would be my last question. Would be about politics. Sir, how could you advise? I know I've said. I mean, I've tapped from what you said, but I really want you to just give us some more nuggets, because I've met so many young people who would really truly love to go into politics, but they are scared, and sometimes they don't really have the backup, or maybe if they are Christian, sometimes they are not encouraged to go into politics. But sir, you have served. You've been a pioneer. You've done so many great works. I mean, sir, you're going to turn 80 tomorrow. Tomorrow will be your 80th birthday, but you are still strong. Your mind is strong. You are still having an impact in society, in people's lives. So, sir, because you said government is all about serving people. So, please, sir, what advice could you give this young generation who want to go into politics? What advice could you give them, sir? Thank you.
Well, the first thing I will say, I hope you are hearing me, because the light has gone again. But the first thing I will say is that if we begin to think that we will not go into politics because politics is dirty, that would be a serious mistake on our part. We should go in there and do the best that we can, and show those who are corrupt that politics can be played without being corrupt.
Hallelujah. Amen. Amen.
That's number one.
Yes, sir.
If we do not do what we should do, then people who will go there will do what we don't want to do. For instance, when Alhaji Jakonde invited me and he told me that he wanted to appoint me as a special advisor, I told him I did not want. When he asked why, I told him I did not like the way government officials worked. But he assured me that his own administration will be different. And I said I will give him a trial.
Wow.
Okay. Now, the thing was that after a while, people did not like the way I was working. I had a lot of challenges, but I stuck to my guns, and I said I would do only what I needed to do. Then there were several other instances which time will not permit me to say now, where obstacles were placed on my way because of my determination.
Wow.
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 So it's a matter of principle. If one is principled, then one can function without inhibition. Okay. When I say without inhibition, it doesn't mean that there will be no obstacles, but you can always overcome.
Wow. Thank you so much, sir. Well, I think at this point I want to just thank our panelists. I want to thank
Because people
Mr.
will know you for who you are. They might not like
Yes.
you, definitely at the, but I
Oh,
That is true. People will know you for who you are. Wow.
we can't hear you again, sir. Can you hear us, sir?
well, it's electricity again. But if
Okay.
you are hearing my
We can hear you, sir.
voice,
We
I
can just
think
hear.
one should go in there with determination to serve.
Hmm. Thank you so much, sir. We really want to thank you so much for making out the time to be with us
Go
on this program.
in with determination
Wow.
to serve and do your very best.
Mhm.
Hmm. Okay, we have the light back now.
Yeah.
We are excited. We can see you more clearly, sir. So I was just going ahead to thank you for making out the time to be with us, tonight as we celebrate you and celebrate the great legacies that God has put forward for we, the younger one, to learn from. I want to thank Mr. Lekan Otufodurin. He is the executive director of Media Career Development Network. He's a seasoned journalist and the president of Journalists for Christ in Nigeria. He's a man that has traveled across and is making much impact. Thank you so much, sir, for being part of this. I want to thank Pastor Yinka Oloyede, the head of Glory Publishers based in Germany. Thank you for making out the time to be here. And to our daddy, we say thank you, sir. Pastor Salau is no longer with us online. We want to thank him also for making out time. I can see that he was in the car, just trying to make sure he's part of this program. We really appreciate you, sir. God bless you. To our daddy, happy 80th birthday, sir. We know
Happy
there's a
birthday.
lot of activities lined up from tomorrow to mark your 80th birthday. And we know you are not tired yet. We
I
still have
at all.
much to learn
At all.
from you. We congratulate you and we pray the Lord will
Thank you
continue to
very
grant
much.
you longer life
Thank you, sir.
and more fulfilled life in the name of Jesus. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Amen.
Thank you
So
so
our
much,
Thank you,
sir.
audience
sir, Prof.
Thank you.
thank you for being part of the
Amen.
program.
I pray
Thank
that
you so much.
every one of you, thank you. I pray that every one of you will live to ripe old ages,
Amen.
and it will be
Amen.
well with you all
Amen.
your life.
Amen, sir.
Thank you very,
Amen.
Amen,
very
sir.
much. Thank you. God
Amen.
bless
God
you.
bless you, sir. God bless
God
you,
Amen.
bless
sir.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you. Thank you for
God
all the
bless you
efforts that
all.
you put. Thank you for
Mm,
making this possible. Thank you, sir.
mm.
God bless you.
Thank you
Thank you,
so
sir.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So,
Thank you.
ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being part of this program. It's such an honor to have Professor Idowu Sobowale with us. You heard from him how he went into government and he was able to maintain his integrity. The legacies he left behind are clear for all to see. We thank God for his life and we can take a cue from him and also determine to be a shining light wherever we are. He started with the decision to be a mechanic, but he rose to become a professor. And it means that your dreams can be realized, your dreams can be fulfilled, that you can make impact in your generation. And I want to quickly tell you about the Top Achievers Network. We have this page on Facebook, and you can go to our website, www.thetopachievers.org, and you can just sign up for our bulletin, and then you can learn more from great people. Because one of the secrets of success is to learn from those that are already succeeding. Thank you for spending time with us. Until we come your way next time, God bless you.